If you have a cell phone or a pager, please turn it off or set it to stun or put it to do not disturb. You know you're here, but not everybody else knows you're here. Baruch Dayan Ha'emet, we praise the Judge of Truth. Let us begin with Psalm 121. Esai enai el haharim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Al yitain lamot raglecha, al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yekaka v'yarech balayla. Adonai yishmarcha mikol ra yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai shmar tzedcha v'uecha me'ata va'ad olam. I lift up mine eyes unto the mountains, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Lord is your guardian. He is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm. He will guard your soul, your going, and your coming, now and forever. Death has taken our beloved Ronald Weitzner, Dr. Ronald P. Weitzner, Ron. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence, there is lamentation. In their tears, there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For Ron's love that united so many people in life and which death cannot sever. For his companionship that we shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of his heart and his mind that brought joy and happiness and is now a precious remembrance. For all of these and more, we give our thanks to God. It is a time of grief and a time of sadness. And we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures once again from Sefer Tehillim, from the book of Psalms. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator, in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. Let us recite the 23rd Psalm together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Children Rochelle and Ross will come forward to eulogize their father, to eulogize our dear Ron. Rochelle, please.
Hello. My father was a great man, and this great man deserves to be celebrated rather than mourned. He lived a great life and knew that every day alive beyond his kidney disease diagnosis was a gift. Thankfully, that gift lasted about 30 years. He positively lived life on his terms, and he exited this life on his terms as well. He was a great teacher, a great father, a great friend, a great storyteller, and an all-around great man. My insane work ethic and entrepreneurial spirit comes from my father. My father turned his learning disability, he was dyslexic, into a thriving business where he taught kids and adults alike with this shared affliction to read. Many went on to become doctors, Hollywood screenwriters, and who knows what else. Many of them were so grateful and kept in touch with him for years. His greatest joy was derived from spending time with his family and his friends, preferably on a boat, in an exotic car, or on a motorcycle. If you knew him at all, then you knew that he loved to tell stories. As a matter of fact, during his 80th birthday party, he was telling stories for nearly 2 hours during what was supposed to be a quick "thanks for coming" speech. He used to tell me that once he had the floor, you had to pry him off the stage. So today, in his honor, I'm going to share a few stories of my own. The first story goes back to the time when he was teaching me how to play softball. I desperately wanted to play, but I was just awful. Early on, I was stuck in right field, and everyone, myself included, prayed that the ball never came to me. My father spent hours upon hours with me in our backyard on Belvoir, pitching to me, playing catch, and just trying to help me get better. One day we were in the backyard, and he was pitching to me, and I was finally able to hit the ball routinely over the fence. What neither of us realized, though, was that a major golf tournament was taking place that day at Canterbury Golf Club. And after about the fourth or fifth time that I hit the ball over the fence, Jack Nicklaus showed up in our backyard. He wanted to let us know that we were disrupting the tournament, and could we maybe practice a little later in the day? We both had a great laugh about this. Then there was a time that I was at a party at my friend Darcy's house. I wasn't driving yet, so my father agreed to pick me up. He was so excited to have an occasion to drive his 1958 red Corvette convertible to pick me up and show off his beloved car. Unfortunately, though, when he drove up, the engine was on fire, and the whole party had to race to find buckets of water rather than admire his prized possession. He definitely knew how to make an entrance. The next story involves me learning how to drive. My father used to teach driver's ed, so teaching me to drive should have been a breeze. For the most part, it was, but he was insistent that I learn how to drive a stick-shift car. I remember the day perfectly. We were at the top of the hill at South Woodland and Green Road. We were in his Datsun 310. Ross was in the back seat, and I was terrified because we were stopped at the light on the incline, and I wasn't yet confident about engaging the clutch without rolling into the car behind me. My father was super patient and calm and said, "Okay, don't worry. As soon as the light changes, I'm going to pull the emergency brake. And when I do this, you can take your time working the clutch and the gas, and I'll release the brake once you've got it." Well, it sounded like a good plan to me, until it wasn't. As soon as the light changed, he pulled up on the emergency brake, but there actually was no brake, at least not one that worked, and we started rolling into the Jaguar behind us. He started screaming and swearing for me to turn off the car and just get out. In that moment, I was a wreck. Ross was laughing hysterically. But honestly, it was one of the funniest memories that I have. Like my father, I could tell stories for hours and hours, but I'm not going to subject you to that. He and I spoke on the phone every Sunday for the last 37 years. I can't imagine not speaking with him each week, but I'm just hopeful that he's finally at peace and out of pain once and for all. Dad, you were the best father I could ever have hoped for, and I love you eternally. Thank you.
And to those words spoken as a prayer, let us say amen.
going to be a tough act to follow. We'll do what we can. In the spirit of telling stories, I do have to tell one that I don't know the exact details around this, other than my dad used to tell the story that when he and his father were driving to Florida, they saw, it started out as they saw something that looked like a spider in the road. I mean, ordinarily you wouldn't see a spider in the road, of course. As time went on, and as he would tell the story, the size of the spider grew exponentially to where they could see it like over the hood of the car or something. And I always kind of wondered what it was, but in any case, it gives some flavor to the way that he would tell stories sometimes. To say that he embellished would be a little bit of an understatement. Yeah. Everything I know about hard work I learned from my dad. His determination, his drive was, I think, unmatched by anybody else I've met. If you know me at all, I have two mantras which have gotten me in trouble sometimes. The first is, what if there was more? What if it could be better? If you know me, you know that I'm a bit of a gearhead. Outside this door sits a car that I drove sort of in his honor that started out, pardon me, as a lovely, comfortable, green four-door sedan that my wife really liked riding in. Then I had the thought, what if it could be more? Like, what if it could have more power? And then just a little bit more. And it morphed into something that she doesn't really like to ride in anymore. I owe some of that to him. The other, and I try to impart this to my boys, is that we do the best we can because it's the only way we know. And, that doesn't mean perfection, of course, because none of us is perfect, but we do the best we can with what we have. He was one of the hardest working people I've ever met. And I'm grateful that I got to learn from him. He wanted the best for us, always. There was nothing he wouldn't do. And he was an amazing role model for us growing up, an amazing teacher, fantastic role model. And, of course, he did plant the seed of what is now an overgrown forest of love and appreciation for things that go fast and burn fuel for me. I may be transferring some of that to my boys a bit. We'll see how that goes. He's responsible for that, for better or worse. Depends on whom you ask. 29,838 is a number, and it could be a big number, it could be a small number. If we're talking about a car, 29,838 miles these days is not very much. It's, still a relatively new car. 29,838 days equates to a little more than 81 and a half years. And that sounds like a long life that's worthy of celebration more than mourning. And make no mistake, it absolutely is that. And I realize that even though I'm 30 years behind, I can see that when the clock runs out, which it absolutely does for all of us, for better or worse, there's nothing we can do, there isn't enough time. When you're a small child, you see old people and you think, oh, they've been around so long. At a little more than 50 and a half now, I realize that there's not enough time. I can see that now. It is a non-negotiable consequence of a life well lived. And I suppose we really should all live as well as my dad did. I will make sure that Colin and Austin carry on his legacy and the family name with pride. They're already on their way to doing more and better the best way they know. Rest easy, Dad. You did great. We'll take it from here.
And to those words as well, to those words we say Amen, spoken as a prayer. So this afternoon we are gathered as a saddened throng. We reminisce and we pay our respects to the memory of your dearly departed and of our dearly departed Ronald Weitzner, Ron. His Hebrew name was Reuven ben Herschel v'Chana. Ron has lived a life with many opportunities and many challenges. He was filled with a lot of love, which he loved to share, and he loved to teach. We have a number 2 pencil tie because he was a teacher. And he loved to tell stories, and he loved to embellish them. And there was the fish that was, this big. And you heard about the spider that was this big. And with each telling, the story grew bigger. The subject grew bigger. He loved to ride with motorcycles and boats and cars. And he was a very hard worker, as you know. He provided for his loved ones, and he's been an example of always working hard to provide for his family. As family members talked about Ron and told stories about Ron, it was a reminder of a story in the Talmud which teaches, as he did, it teaches of Rabbi Yochanan ben Baroka. This is in, if you want to check, this is in a Talmud tractate, Ta'anit 22a. You can look that up, Ta'anit 22a. I know you can Google it somewhere on the internet. Rabbi Yochanan ben Baroka was a saintly rabbi who constantly pondered the great mysteries of life and the inscrutable secret of life beyond the grave. And one day this rabbi was walking through the town market, and he was engrossed in his ponderings, and he came into direct spiritual communication with Eliyahu Hanavi, with Elijah the prophet. Yes, this is the same Elijah the prophet we invite to the Passover Seder every year. This is the prophet who's supposed to be the forerunner of the Messianic time, a time of universal brotherhood and sisterhood and peace. And so Rabbi Yochanan ben Baroka asked Elijah, will any of the people in this market square, in this marketplace, will they share the bliss of the world to come after they and I have died? And Elijah pointed to 2 people who were entertaining the people with their playfulness. So this is, it says, entertaining the people with their playfulness. So playfulness is deliberately vague so that one's imagination can wander. Are these people entertaining others with magic tricks, or maybe they're telling a story and they're acting it out with voices and with all sorts of gesticulation. So you can imagine the story being told like this, and you can imagine Ron telling the story like this. And then Rabbi Yochanan ben Beroka exclaims to Elijah, "What, these simple performers will be my companions in the world to come? What merits do they possess?" And Elijah answers simply, "They have joyful, fun-loving spirits which brighten up the hearts of others." And in so many ways, for close to 82 years, that was Ron Weitzner. He was born October 1st, 1941 here in Cleveland. His parents of blessed memory, Herman and Irene. He was the baby of 4 children. Arthur of blessed memory, Ellie, who lives in Florida, Bob of blessed memory, and Ron of blessed memory. And on the phone, Ellie said she loved your little brother. I was 9 years older than Ron, and I have so many fond memories of him. He was my baby brother. I'm sorry not to be there in person. Ron was a teacher, not only by training, but it was in his kishkas, it was in his neshama. He was a teacher in his soul. He went to Cleveland Heights High School and graduated in 1959. He earned an education degree at the Ohio State University and then a master's in special education from Xavier University in Cincinnati, and he then followed it up with a PhD in education. He taught countless people how to read with whatever the learning disabilities were that they had. And he was dyslexic, and he taught others how to work with that. And he counseled others in the process. So when you learn about reading, you're also learning about life. He was very gifted in that way, and he helped many, many people. Many have been the blessings of family, the children and grandchildren, his wife Carolyn, and here we have, I'll try not to miss anybody. If I miss anybody, call it out, okay? Please. All right, Rochelle and Jess, Ross and Tammy, his dear wife Carolyn, married November 27th, 1987 by Rabbi Fred Eisenberg. That was 35 years ago. And son Bobby and Askik, and then grandchildren, Colin, Austin, and Hike. Ron and Carolyn were fixed up by a mutual friend in about 1986. And Rabbi Fred did the wedding November 27th, 1987. It's right around Thanksgiving. Day before, day after. Carolyn said, he did kindnesses for me. And a relation to the huge spider that Ross spoke about, Carolyn said, I'm terribly afraid of spiders. And when we had a boat, and it was time to clean it out, if you've ever had a boat, you do a big suction of plastic over it, and then you pull the plastic off, and it's filled with bugs and spiders. What he would do, she said, is he would have the boat fumigated a few days before I was to get in the boat with him to clean it out. And that was a big kindness because she's scared of spiders. He was taking care of her, and she said, I was very, very appreciative. That was only one of the many things that he did. Ron and Carolyn have been members of Temple Israel Ner Tamid, since Rabbi Fred opened the doors in 1985. Now, that's a long time to be a member of a congregation. And people like Ron and Carolyn are the backbone of a congregation, the backbone of our congregation. They are among the select few of Jews of many different congregations who actually stay after their kids have grown up and moved out of town. They stay even after they spend much of the year in Florida. They are appreciated and should serve as an example for Jews everywhere. Congregations need people like Ron and Carolyn and people, like you. Ron rode motorcycles for many years, probably from age 15 to about age 75. And then after he had to put the Harley away, did he sell that or did he just put it away? He sold it. All right. So you can buy something else. Then he went to the three-wheel things, right? One of them's called a Spider, and the other one's called, I don't know, Can-Am or something. Can-Am Spider. Oh, Spider. Sorry. Well, one of those three-wheel things. Because when your balance goes, it's easier to ride something with three wheels than with two. And he passed along to Ross a love of going fast with any type of combustion engine, preferably with high octane, right? So it can really go fast. And as we know, many have been Ron's medical challenges, and he fought long and hard. And he has been enjoying this gift of 30 years while on an experimental treatment for kidney disease. And recently, he reached the point when hospice became the best choice. And even in the sadness of the family, there's so much gratitude for this life. And so on Sunday, he breathed his last, and now there's just rest and wholeness and peace. Just as Shabbat is a time of rest and wholeness and peace, so too for our dear Ron, it's a time of rest. His soul is returning to God and to be with the souls of his dear relatives, friends and ancestors of our people. We learn this in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 7. The dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. One day, all of us will join our dear ones in Olam Haba. Judaism talks about the world to come as Olam Haba, the world to come. It's not a place. This is a place. Olam Haba is an entirely spiritual time. Your souls will be together with his again. And although none of us should be in a hurry, it is comforting to know and that we'll be together with our loved ones again in the spiritual existence, Olam Haba. We're sending along an old Haggadah and a Machzor and a High Holy Days prayer book with him in the casket. It's a mitzvah to escort the body of your loved one to its final resting place. And it's a mitzvah also to provide respectful burial for holy books of our heritage. And we send along a Passover Haggadah in particular also because Passover is a time when we recall and give thanks for our ancient liberation from Egyptian slavery. And we're free today because of God's deliverance those many, many years ago. And not only that liberation, but our dear Ron has been liberated from illness and any sort of pain. So your memories are filled to overflowing, and we give thanks to God for this gift of life. And we would have hoped for more, and we would have hoped for more in decent health or in good health. And so, as we think of him, let us be kinder and more thoughtful of others. Tell a long story, go for a ride on a bike, or a car, or a boat. Let us be more eager to help and serve others in his memory. For only through the deeds which we perform can the world be compensated for his loss. And so we conclude with the words from the first chapter of the book of Job. Adonai Natan, v'Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach. The Lord hath given, the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And let us say, Amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. May God, who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, cause peace to rain down upon us, upon all Israel, and upon the soul of our dearly departed Ron Weitzner, and let us say, Amen. Please rise for the El Maleh Rachamim prayer. Into your care, O God, we entrust the spirit of our dear Ron Weitzner, Reuven ben Herschel, V'chana. For you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain us that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, O God, are with us, a loving friend in whom we put our trust. You are the light of our life, our hope in eternity. El Maleh Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hametzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Utohorim, Zohar ki amazirim et nishmat Reuven ben Hershel v'chana shahalach le'olamo ba'al harachamim yastirehu b'seiteh kenafav le'olamim Vayitzror b'tzror ha'chaim et nishmato Adonai hu nachalato v'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo v'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our dear Ron Weitzner. He has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. In a moment, we are on our way to Zion Cemetery, and we will say Kaddish at the grave. The family is asking if you wish to come by for a visit, that you come by tomorrow between 1 and 4 o'clock. They live in Aurora, 320-45 Windward Circle. Put it in your GPS and good luck, because it doesn't always find it, apparently. Luckily, I had your directions, and I didn't have to worry about the GPS. And the family has also indicated that if you care to make a donation in his loving memory, think first and foremost of the Rescue Village. And if you care to make other donations, start with them and then go to other places as well. There are all sorts of wonderful places that we can make donations for our dear Ron. And we'll recite Kaddish for him at Temple Israel near Tamid for the next month. Every time we do a service or a Torah study, we're saying Kaddish for Ron. And it'll be our privilege to do so whether any family members are in attendance or not. And so now we will go in procession to Zion Cemetery.